Welcome to Reality Test. I'm Dr. Ray.
And I'm Dr. Kay. Feel free to check in, take a seat wherever you damn like, because we're back and we're stoked and we're going to do awards today because we didn't end up being able to do it because it's such a rich conversation with Chad from Game of Roses. Thanks again to Chad. That was so much fun.
It was such a blast. So much fun. And it's kind of like award season right now. I feel like, did the Emmys recently happen? The VMAs? Some things are happening.
VMAs did just happen. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we're going to add to that. We're going to add to the fun and mess of the VMAs by bringing our own awards into the chat.
I've got my music video earrings on, my music video hoops on. I'm ready to go, VMA style.
I've got my music video or music
headphones.
Listening to headphones. So we're ready.
We're so ready for these VMAs.
Yes.
Podcast VMAs.
I love it.
Reality podcast VMA style.
Yes.
So we will jump right into that after we do two segments. First is check-ins. So what is on your heart and mind today, dear Dr. Ray?
What is on my heart and mind? That's a great question. I'm trying to think. Oh, I'm in the Cape this weekend. I love the Cape.
Yay.
It's so fun to be here. We're getting our floors refinished. So I'm excited to see that when I return home. And also it's just lovely. The weather's really nice. And it's now officially the off season, so we can get into restaurants and stuff. So we are enjoying our Cape time.
I love that. It's so fun that it's not only good Cape time, it's also good productive time, because then you'll get home to a project being done, and home reno is always so fun. And I know you particularly love it, so that's great.
Yes, all good things. So it feels
self-care abounds.
Yes, exactly. Very positive. But what about you? What is on your heart and mind today, dear Dr. Kay?
It's nice weather too for that, by the way. So I would say mine today will be my nerd alert status around crafting, because I'm trying needlepoint for the first time ever. I did one already that was I'm not adulting today, I think it says, which was like okay, but then this time I'm doing one that, like, now that I know the ropes, I'm doing one that I base off of a drawing that my niece gave me. I'll show it to you when I'm done with it. I'll show it to everybody. I'll put it on the video because I'm like loving how it's coming out. So I spent a long time working on that today, and I was just enjoying it this morning, being able to do a little sedentary activity with the time I had off of work this morning. So that's what's on my mind.
Oh, it's so nice to do things unrelated to our job, because so much of our waking lives is occupied by our damn job. And even outside reality TV, or when you're like, because I know we both love to watch reality TV as a pastime, which is so much fun too. But sometimes we need to mix it up, do some different hobbies.
Yes, a little dissociative. The TV is the dissociative part. And so then doing less dissociative, more like active things. We like to play a lot of long games. Even in the winter, we'll like do games outside, or like figure out some way to, or also even just like taking care of our house or property. There's things that are very active. And so I like having some things that are just sitting still, doing some things. Even just doing nothing for a little bit feels good when we use our brains so much. So that's been a joy. I also did watch some TV while doing it a little bit. Not really watching per se, but I will say there's some good shows that I watched that I was going to also mention. And one of the ones I was going to mention is called Hightown. I don't know if you've heard about that. It was on Stars. But there's a lot of good content, first of all. It's like about a narcotics department, but it also has a ton of sex and like lesbian sex, and they normalize lesbian sex. And it's not only that, but like the most sex that you see is women getting eaten out. Yeah. We see a lot of going down on women, and that is the best, because we're so used to seeing like blowjobs, and it's so phallocentric in most TV shows and this was male directed, so I didn't have a whole lot of hope, but it is actually much more feminine in terms of the sex scenes are much more female oriented, which I love. And I love the lesbian content. And I thought the main character must be lesbian in real life because she is incredibly good at it. And she's married to a man. So I actually don't know her sexual orientation, but she's married to a man. But I also, so like part of me was like, oh no, like why not gay people in gay roles? Like give queer people roles. But she's doing a fantastic job, and she may very well be bi. So I didn't actually look much further, but she's great though. I love her. So definitely recommend that show. Good content.
High Tide or High Town? Sorry.
High Town.
High Town.
High Town.
Cool. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
excited
it's
to
on
check it
Netflix
out.
right now. So it's a Starz show, which is always good, right? Like Starz and Showtime, I like have no access to because I don't have that kind of thing, like whatever DVR or some cable satellite. So I just watch things that then get picked up by streamers. And so the fact whenever I see a Starz or Showtime, I'm usually going to try it out. Or AMC is another one. If those get picked up by Netflix or something, I'll try them right out. Usually I'm not disappointed. So
I might have to check it out tonight.
yeah,
Because we're
yeah.
oh,
Yeah, check it out tonight. I insist, because the other thing that's amazing about it that's feminist is that the first two credited people are the two women in the show, like the first two credited. And I was like, yes, that is exactly what it should be. I was a little bit surprised too, and I just love it. And the second credited woman after the lesbian woman of color, who's the number one credited, who's the number one character, after her is a sex worker. She's white,
yes,
presenting at least, but she's a sex worker in the show. She's a stripper. And so I just absolutely love that is the two top credited people. They're both fantastic actors too, and they're in the second season so far too, so I hope they stay, but they're both fantastic. Highly recommend.
You know Stars. There was a show on Stars called, I think, P-Town, which stands for like Pussy Town, which was about
fun.
people like pole dancing and stripping and stuff like that as their
Good
job, and it was like pretty much exclusively or almost exclusively like a cast of people of color, and it was just a really good, fun show. It actually reminded me in some ways of True Blood. Obviously, it wasn't about vampires, but kind of like a Southern Gothic-y kind of vibe, and it was just really good. But I stopped watching. I didn't watch the second season, and I should have, because it was a really good show.
Oh, that sounds great. I'll definitely check that out. Have you seen Broad City with Abby and just cannot stand how good that show is. It's so funny. Another good one that might be randomly located. I actually don't know where it is now even. I thought I watched it on HBO, but that's not right. It wasn't on HBO. So I don't remember how I saw it, but it's such a good show. Highly recommend. It was on Comedy Central, I think. So
funny.
Where we get that. I think it started on YouTube, right? It was like a YouTube channel first, I think.
Was it really? I didn't know that.
I think so. And then it got picked up. Yeah. Yeah.
Learn something new every day.
I know, right? And then now fast forward, and she was in the movie Babes with Michelle Buteau. Alana Glazer was. And Abby was in a movie. She was in one of the movies about the neighbors or whatever. So they both kind of got big from Broad City, which is cool.
As they should have. They're both freaking hilarious.
Very funny. I will just say one last thing because we're talking about sex workers and strippers in particular. We'll just say that also I just heard this song that's funny as fuck, and it's I think it's called like Peach or something. It's God Bless You.
Y'all, this is Dr. Kay hitting pause because the song is actually called Bless Your Heart, not God Bless You. Bless Your Heart makes heaps more sense as well for what the song is about, since people say bless your heart in the South, meaning kinda fuck you in the politest of ways. So that makes my description of the lyrics make a little more sense.
And it's a song by this feminist singer that I will remember by the end of this conversation so that I can give her a shout out. But she is a feminist song, and she's talking about like, oh, like you're like people in church are like so judgy. She's like talking about being queer and that people in church are so judgy, and like you're like, oh, but like your son, had this thing happen to them. Oh, but God bless you. Like, oh, your husband's cheating on you, but God bless you. And they go, oh, your daughter's a stripper. Bitch, go off. I was like, yes, that's so good. Like they're talking about how like it just sucks to be you, and they're like, oh fuck yeah, I get it. Yeah, well,
I love it.
Yeah, go off, bitch. I was like, yes, it's so good. It's such a funny line, just out of nowhere. So it was great.
Yes, with all the church thing, and then just changing the narrative a little bit.
Yeah, well, and also being like, oh, like you're so high and mighty, and like everything sucks for you, but that doesn't suck. That's a good thing. Good for you for having a daughter that's a stripper. That's a good thing.
Yes,
that's awesome. Yeah,
like subvert the stigma kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. That is not something I would say is bad for you. I would not say that about that. So
not at all.
I like it. That was fun.
Yay.
Okay. So there's my little feminist, pop culture moment. And also we have now our studies, and I'm going to have you go first again. I think we could always just do it that way, but also I think yours is more of a downer. So I think you should definitely go first.
Yes.
Yeah. Wait. Oh, I have more to say about that first. I'm so sorry. First of all, I want to tell everyone what we're doing. But second of all, I thought of a name for it. I think we should call it Reality Check. Because
I like it.
that was originally going to be our name, but everything's called Reality Check in the world forever, like so many podcasts. But it's not our podcast name; it's a segment name, and we're doing a reality check by checking out what's in the studies on the internet and also the other places we find studies that are not just on the internet. So we are checking research. The point is of this segment, we're each episode going to bring you a study that we've been thinking about that relates to the social media or relates to the reality TV or whatever, something we've been noodling on, even if it's not related to those things, to help us all think about a certain thing more. So what did you bring for us today, Dr. Ray?
So been thinking and talking with my partner a lot about like Charlie Kirk and his death by a shooter, which was incredibly sad. Of course it was. And as we talk about all the time on the show, we can hold multiple truths at the same time. What happened was awful. I do not condone that sort of violence against a person. And his politics were horrible and horrific and
Damaging. Dangerous. Yeah.
Dangerous, damaging. He actually said that, occasional gun violence is, a natural consequence to having Second Amendment rights, which is a little then biblical, if you will, not to use that word, about what kind of happened. And I'm not saying he deserved what happened to him. He did not. No one deserves that.
That's ironic, for sure.
Yeah, it is ironic. That is a good way of saying it. Isn't it ironic? Apparently, I got this wrong earlier, but apparently some people on the far, far right have been comparing this to I think it's called like the Reichstag fire that was one of the facilitators of the Holocaust, and being, people in the Nazi party being able to kind of crack down on laws related to like communists and those on the far left or whatever. And they kind of used that event to validate their actions in some way, because sometimes when things happen, like, you think about 9/11, people then use emotional reasoning to make sometimes faulty decisions, like, searching for weapons of mass destruction for years and years and years and never finding them, right? And people use these sorts of events to forward political agendas, which is incredibly scary, and is something that is a concern here.
That's already being used. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And
by Trump. Trump's like, his voice is more powerful than ever. Or like, just sort of being like, this is, and then obviously like the previous and Democratic presidents having to also come out and condemn, shooting politicians, because of course they should and do have to. But then that also gives Trump extra like leeway to be like, so let's all like learn from that, just like gives him more runway for using this to like martyrize maybe, Charlie Kirk.
Yeah. And there were, I think, Democratic politicians that were shot a few months ago and
killed in their homes, in their fucking homes. And then the same guy tried to go to multiple fucking homes and like, no, you know what I mean? It's also like, what the fuck? And did we hear much from them about that? No.
No, I think some on the far right were mocking what happened or like taking it very lightly.
Yeah.
And it's not to go too tit for tat, but it's like, it's just the rhetoric can be so dangerous around stuff like that. And it's scary to think about what might come of this. For my study, I found something called that talks about radicalization. Let me just pull it up really quick. It's called Slicing the Gordian Knot of Political Extremism Issues and Potential Solutions Regarding Its Conceptualization and Terminology. And this is by, Marco Stono, Monica Alzate, and Jose Manuel Sabucito. And I apologize if I mispronounce any of your names. And thank you for this wonderful article. But essentially, the article's goal was to highlight the problems and identify the problems and also misuse of terms related to radicalism and radicalization, and that there's a lot of confusion and obscurity around these issues. But they had some cool, let me go down to the graphs, because I thought their graphs were very helpful in kind of showing the difference between different stages. So there's like an ideologue. This is someone that might seek profound change, but not necessarily. They don't have anti-establishment ideas, and they do not support forceful imposition of their own ideas. A radical is someone who seeks profound change, is anti-establishment, and often does not support forceful imposition of own ideas. An extremist, which is the kind of higher than level of that, and are some of the people who will act violent, don't necessarily seek profound change, are not necessarily anti-establishment, but do support forceful imposition of their own ideas. So these tend to be the sorts of folks who will engage in some sort of violent action.
Yes.
And then there was another kind of graph that talked about the tipping point of like when someone is becoming more and more radical and maybe going towards extremism, there's like a progressive growing attitude, strength in their ideologies and group identification while rejecting alternative views. And then there's like a tipping point, right? And the tipping point is where the legitimization of forceful ideas will kind of happen. And that's where political extremism happens. And this tipping point idea, I was thinking about, could this Charlie Kirk be the tipping point for some people? And I don't mean to be too inflammatory. It's just that literally people on the right were kind of making that conclusion for themselves, that this could justify some hateful rhetoric, as was the case in the Holocaust. So, yeah, it's all interesting, the difference between an ideologue, a radical, an extremist. And, like, I would consider myself radical. I hope I'm not an extremist.
No, God, no. No, I don't think we could be professors if we were, right? Like, I definitely consider myself a radical feminist minimum, but I think that's exactly I love that you brought that up, the difference, because I think that's exactly the difference that we are constantly communicating, including to our students, which is like, I'm going to share with you what my biases are. That does not mean I want you to have my biases. It means I'm going to own that those are my biases so that you can decide what you want to learn from that or not and what you want to take from it. And then that way you know what a feminist viewpoint is too. You know, it helps you educate you on one position. So I think that's exactly what we have to do as professors. There's no way that you're extremist. No way. You're very kind. no force.
Do my best. I think one of the things that, Kate, I've learned more about this from you, and one of the things we try to do, like in some of our social justice work, is to think about how to communicate ideas in a way that they're going to be heard and not shut down conversation.
Yeah.
And sometimes the discourse can get so inflammatory that this can be hard to do. And it's like, you can be the rightest person. I don't even mean right politically. You can be so correct in your truth. But if you don't know how to communicate that, then no one cares. And so I think sometimes when ideas get to more of an extremist place, maybe the goal, maybe in your mind, is about creating change, but your actions are actually not supporting the change that you're wanting, which is different than political extremism. So I shouldn't conflate the two too much, but I guess what I'm saying.
Similar. Similar.
And another cognitive leap I'm making is there's some people on the left who are like, you know, kind of making fun of Charlie Kirk or whatever, or treating him with a complete lack of empathy. And that's not helpful either, because then the right's going to be like, see these demonic,
hateful.
You know, it's like, that's not the way to get your voice heard.
It's also just like not empathetic, and that's what we're asking from the other side. So like if we're a liberal, like we are made fun of also as liberals for wanting empathy, even though that's like, but it does mean that like giving empathy is a necessary condition for expecting it.
And it's like, I think the return of nuance to the chat is important. And it's hard in the way that our system is set up for nuance to be seen. So yeah, so some concerning stuff going on right now. And
also your point is like, there are ways in which the extremism is polarized even further online. And I think we don't need to get to that place to be learning. And in fact, we should be learning from both arguments. Like the most healthy thing is to have a debate. It'd be nice if there weren't just two sides, but if we have to have two, at least the healthiest thing is to be like learning from both sides and finding an integrated place for ourselves where we fall on the spectrum rather than a pole.
And I think that is not where our society is. And also, as Chad was saying last week, changing minds, there's not one thing we can do that's magically going to change the minds of people on the right about issues. And I think keeping expectations low, because I think people worry that if they have even the slightest bit of empathy for this person, then it's going to be misconstrued. And that might be true, but I think recognizing that you're probably not going to win regardless of what you do and trying to come from a place that feels integrated with your values is maybe a good way to do it.
Exactly. It's one thing to like voice your thoughts and feelings about something and not expect someone else to adhere to them. I think it's fair to have your own opinions about anything, politics or anything, and share them. But as soon as you're trying to force them on someone else, that's the extremism part. And then it's also like what someone else will shut down about. Like they're not going to want to hear it if they like think about like religious, right? Like we think about evangelists who like try to like push people to like embrace Jesus, and people get so offended and like, you know, like off put by that, because the same thing. It's like, if you're forcing your views on me, I'm not going to jive with that. If you're sharing your views and it's something I can learn from, maybe I'll integrate a part of it. That's way more successful.
Absolutely. Yes. And yeah, polarizing language does not tend to work very well. And I think that sort of thinking makes us sick. I mean, it does. We certainly pathologize it on the individual level, and yet our country reinforces that sickness at every turn.
The black and white thinking we were talking about with Chad. Exactly. Yeah. Dichotomies everywhere. And it's the same thing, right, with gender. It's like we're forcing a dichotomy where there is no dichotomy. It's way more nuanced than that. And biological sex is not a dichotomy either. It's not a binary. There are many, many, many different biological sex presentations, including conditions of sex development, previously known as intersex, but that has been challenged as a term because that suggests there's like one presentation, whereas conditions of sex development talk about like many different, it could be hormonal differences or genitalia differences or whatever. So my point just being that there are many, nothing is actually a binary or dichotomy, even as much as we try to make it be one to be able to tolerate it better. So if we can just see everything as way more nuanced and complicated. I mean, think about politics like during the Bush era, or like, you know, it's like, obviously there were issues to be had, but like people were way more tolerant of each other's political views. Like, I think I've talked before about that study that said that like 90% of young people say they can't date across the aisle now, you know, or marry across the aisle, which would never have been the case when we were growing up. So, yeah.
No. And it was, there's something fun about sparring and debate. And I think it pushes everyone intellectually when you can have those debates. Unfortunately, where we're at as a country, that tends to not go very well, in my experience.
Yeah. Well, it's gotten personal.
Conservative family, it tends to go off the rails real fast.
As Chad was also talking about. I didn't even think about how that related to you too. That's so funny. I wasn't even thinking about that. I was like, students that come and talk about, but you're exactly right. Like you have that same experience as Chad too, where it's like having conservative parents and then being the liberal one that sometimes gets like diminished or like, you know, dissed in some way in the family, is like, oh, you're so high and mighty, or, you know, whatever. And it's like so sad because it's sort of like, oh, I'm actually just like trying to like add another perspective. I don't know, you know. And if we only come in with that sort of gentle approach, which is like what we are trying to do, we're trying to have all of us do with each other, is like have a gentle approach, then it just gets like rolled over, you know, like steamrolled over. So that's what I think makes liberals become more fierce about it, because they're like, if I come in with what I hope to get from you, you're not going to hear me, and it's just going to did it. And I think the other thing is, because it's become now about like racism and bigotry and sexism and heterosexism, it's just become so much more personal. And so it's hard. It feels like if I talk to someone as a queer person, or, you know, as a woman, right? If I talk to somebody who is a Trump supporter, my immediate thought is like, okay, they think I am bad because of my identity, you know, so automatically I'm going to be on alert in a way I wouldn't have been 5-10 years ago. Right. 10-20 years ago, 10-15 years ago.
The stakes of these conversations feel high, and it's so damaging in so many ways. And it's sad. It's sad where we're at as a country.
It's so sad. Yeah, it would have been one thing before if you were like, here are my views on the democracy versus, or Democratic versus Republican views, like here are my political views, and someone was like, nah, I don't really agree with that, versus me being like, I think that Trump is racist and sexist, and someone being like, well, yeah, but I don't really care about that. Like, I don't care that he is. Like, who cares? It's like, that feels so much worse than someone saying, I don't care that you like fiscal conservatism or whatever. You know, it's like, there's just so much more at stake if you just say that you don't. If you dismiss my views on what's wrong with Trump, then that just feels like you're dismissing me and my identities rather than just like my political views.
And dismissing like human beings and like
whole groups of people.
Yeah, just so, and it makes me feel, I know that this is not the truth, by the way. I know enough people with these identities to know this is not the truth. But my immediate reaction is, how can you have so little empathy for so many groups of people? And what I've found is when people interact with more groups and have more experiences, they have more empathy for those experiences. Yeah. But if you're not interacting with different groups of people, it's really easy to not understand them.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, there's like a famous article on facing stigma that the three best ways to address and reduce stigma are: number one, contact. So contact with the group that you're stigmatizing. Number two is education. So being taught about it. And then the third one is protest. And so those three are like the top. I think it's like Cal and Penn or something, it's like Corcoran and Penn or something like that, or the authors, but I could maybe do that for a future reality check. But it's a really great article and it's a great point. So it's like, but how do you increase contact for groups that don't want to be anywhere, that there are these groups that they've been told are evil? And it's just so sad. And obviously a big part of it is like what's on our cultural media, like what's on the news. The way that trans folks are villainized, the only way they're really talked about on the news is negatively. And then even in liberal media, it's still like it's not there yet. We're not there in any type of media. So, right, there's like RuPaul's Drag Race when we think about other types of media, so like shows and movies, but they're still so isolated. Like these shows and movies are so isolated, they're not like the mainstream. And so we have so far to go. And I think the more cultural representation there can be that's closer to contact than not even seeing anything about trans culture.
Absolutely. Hopefully things will move and that group of people, trans folks, will not be so tokenized and their bodies won't be so constantly on the line and up for debate. It's awful.
It's so fucked up. And it is something that like we've repeated with marginalized group after marginalized group. And it's sort of like, have we not seen that it goes horribly wrong over and over again? And like we are talking now more than ever about the effects of oppression and marginalization. So we know this is not working. Let's find another approach. And the other thing I want to say quickly is that Alan Cumming, the most amazing bi plus man in the media culture, and also the best host of a reality show, Traders. He was on and guest hosting Jimmy Kimmel. I don't watch Jimmy Kimmel, but I watched his monologue from that, and it was incredible. Cool. I was bawling. Like, so he was talking about trans folks as being like superheroes, like they're born with something inside that's very special that they want to share with the world, and that they have to wear a mask, and that they only want peace and justice. And I was like, they do just want peace and justice. They're not trying to hurt anybody. Like the number of people have used their transness to sexually assault somebody in the bathroom, like zero. Really, like they would be treated better if they were just a rapist than if they were a trans person trying to, it makes no sense. Our country treats rapists better. So that just as an agenda is wild. And it obviously is coming back to what you brought up just now, is the whole conversation happening with Charlie before he was shot around the idea of, he's like, but like how many mass shooters have been trans? And the student was like 5. He's like, too many. It's like, if you think about out of the huge numbers of mass shooters, 5 is extremely low. So it's just, the way that rhetoric, if that student hadn't known the answer, that rhetoric was very quickly going to go the way he wanted it to, Charlie did. So that's why it's so dangerous, some of the rhetoric he's using.
Yeah. I don't agree with any of the rhetoric that he put forth. He, I think, had a lot of hate towards groups that he did not understand, and that's a shame. That's a shame for him and for the people who support him. Yeah.
Yeah. And then for all of us because of that, and particularly for those in the groups that he's targeting. And I will also say it was the first stop on his long tour of doing this at a bunch of colleges. And that is a dangerous group to be, misleading in my opinion, in my opinion, misleading. It's a dangerous group to be misleading also in my opinion. So I don't know, but I just, it makes me sad very much so to think about the way people are sort of fed. There's conditioning in general, right? And so to then also in a college where it's supposed to be kind of a time to explore outside of the views of your parents and sort of experience it tends to be a little bit more liberal leaning in terms of colleges, depending on the college you go to, of course. But so to have it be another place for additional conditioning towards hate is sad.
I totally agree. Well, it sounds like you have a slightly more optimistic study that I would love to hear about.
I do. Okay, but that was a delight. Thank you so much for sharing. And I think it's so on target because we also wouldn't be able to talk about the current events really if you hadn't brought that up. So I'm really glad you did. I want to also say that the artist who sings the song that I was talking about, it's like God Bless You is what it's called.
Nope. Bless your heart.
Is by Tilly. Lowercase t, lowercase I, capital LL, and then lowercase IE. Tilly.
Love.
She's a feminist singer. We like.
Gotta check her.
So yeah, check her out. Check out God Bless You.
Nope.
So funny. So good. So I'm going to talk today. This is a little bit related to what we were talking about with Chad. And so that's why I was noodling on it more, but it's thinking a little bit more about where we're headed with technology. And so what's real, right? What are we were talking about that and metaphysics. And so I wanted to go the route of how are we headed towards the use of AI for good in terms of growth and development. So what's a BCI? A BCI is a brain-computer interface. So brain-computer interface is used in many different ways, and one is it can detect brain activity. It can also trigger brain activity. So one of the ways it's used, first of all, one brain-computer interface is actually just an MRI, right? But those are super expensive. Another way to use a BCI brain-computer interface is to use electrodes that you put on your brain, much more, travelable. You put the electrodes all over the scalp. However, an emerging trend happening right now is actually to surgically implant microelectrodes directly into the brain so that you don't have to wear the net on your head kind of thing. And people are doing this. The implants are teeny tiny, about the size of a small pill, and they have dozens of very thin microelectrodes sticking out of one side. They're then placed in the region of the brain associated with the task that you're unable to do. So this would mean, for example, somebody, if we're talking about detecting brain activity, it used to be somebody who doesn't have an arm, let's say, and so they have a prosthetic arm, a robotic arm. And so therefore, if they had this microelectrode put in the part of their brain that controls their arm, then they would practice for a while. They have to get good at it. But over time, they'd be able to have it be instinctual, that they can use their bionic arm just thinking about it, like just saying like, okay, I'm going to move it. So it becomes like a real arm. Like now they have a like functional arm the way we would. And so that's an electrode picking up on you thinking that thing, like thinking, okay, I want to do this when I do this. I want to do, that's one way it can be used. Another way that I think is really, it's really cool. And actually, so this next one is even cooler, but I think that's really cool. The even cooler thing is it's triggering brain activity. So this would mean that small electric currents go to the brain tissue around a certain area. And it's been used, for example, to bring the sensation of touch to people using prosthetic hands so that parents can feel their babies when they hold their babies. So they feel touch on their bionic arm because of the electrode triggering the part of your brain that makes you feel like you're touching them.
I'm obsessed. I can't believe it. That's this is so cool.
And it seems so futuristic. It is right now being used. This exists. This is already happening. People have both of these things. People are already using them. They are at homeable, They're not just like MRI level expensive. They're like very attainable. So for the triggering is like when a pressure sensor hits a finger on your bionic hand or whatever, or your like prosthetic hand, that finger pressure will create the electric charge in your brain. So it's very much like actual, like when we touch our finger, it releases a brain thing. This is mostly due to advances in AI because we wouldn't be able to interpret this without it. But now we're looking at all the many things we can do with this BCI research. So one is doing non-addictive pain suppression through electrodes, and another is being able to connect with the metaverse, which like, whatever, that's fine. But basically, the idea is that BCIs may indeed at some point become as ubiquitous as smartphones. So we might all end up with BCIs, like equivalent to having a smartphone, especially like the connecting to the metaverse. I can see why that would become appealing to everybody to be able to do that without a phone even. So like if you think about some of those like futuristic movies where like their eye has like, I think oftentimes it's like because they have a contact in or something, but whatever, like having a phone in your hand, like without you put a phone in your hand, but like seeing a screen or, so it is very,
I think I misunderstood where you were going with that. That actually really freaks me out. And that's giving Black Mirror.
I think it will at first do that. Yeah. It will at first freak everybody out. And then I think we'll get used to it. I've been watching this other show. There's been a lot of shows lately, actually, but that's on something else. It's on Prime, and it's pretty good. It's not like great, but it's on its like third or fourth season. And in the show, it's like all about in the future. It's set in the future. Their phones, like they put their hand like this, and the phone will like appear, like a screen will appear above their hand, just when they go like that. And it's like very normalized because it's set in the future. And it actually seems like I can imagine us getting used to that pretty quickly. So it took a quick hiatus, looked it up. It's called Upload. And the idea is the hand thing I was saying about the phone, but also in this, they created this like AI world that you can go to when you die. So you get uploaded into like a world that you then become an AI character essentially, but like you really experience it like you're really there. And so your identity kind of never goes away, or your soul or something, but it becomes like an economic issue, because if you don't have money to go to upload, then you die for good and whatever. So it's an interesting kind of take on the future. But in other words, that being set in the future, it normalizes a lot of some of the stuff that I think is coming up like this, and like being able to see a screen without an actual screen being there. And we're already there. And already exists. So it will just get normalized for everybody to have it. So I think BCI is like that. Like we'll all have some sort of version of it that makes it easy. Like if you think about how many people have AI goggles now, right? Like kids and whatever. So we're already normalizing something like that. So there was that piece of it that I wanted to say. That's the ubiquitous part, which is also scary, spooky. But the more important part even than the ubiquitous, we're all going to have it, maybe scary, spooky stuff. The most important part, and this is where the actual study comes in, not just like the state of affairs of BCI. This is a study by Zhang, Z-H-A-N-G, Zhao, J-A-I-A-O, Yang, Li, Zhang, J-I-A-N-G, Feng, Zhu, Xu, Z-O-U, and then X-U, two different people, and then Gu, or Ju, maybe, G-U, and then Wang, and then Wei. So these are very many names, but I'm just telling you all of them because I want to give them all credit. And this is an article about brain-computer interfaces and the innovative key to unlocking neurological conditions. So this is a really exciting thing, is they're already looking at using it for things like Parkinson's disease, stroke, spinal cord injuries. We're using it in really important scientific ways already, offering a transformative approach to diagnosing, treating, and rehabilitating neurological conditions with substantial potential to enhance quality of life and the field of neurotechnology.
That's cool.
So
that's really
I'm excited about that. Yeah.
Wow. That's, yeah. I mean, that could be huge. And it's so good to hear about the positive ways that AI might be changing our lives, because I think as academics, we have to sometimes deal with the unfortunate parts where did you write this? Did AI write this? How do I understand your thinking about these issues more? What's you? What's the computer? But I mean, this all sounds, and I'm sure there's downfalls to what we're talking about that I don't understand because it's not my area, but it sounds cool. And it sounds like it can really help people to live better lives and to suffer less. I like it.
Exactly. And this Zhang et al. Study that I'm talking about, you can just look up like BCI and Zhang, probably it'll come right up. But the study I'm talking about, they looked at, it's basically like a meta-analysis because they collectively they do a synthesis. It might not even be quite technically a meta-analysis, statistically speaking, but they look at like a synthesis of all the studies of what we're already doing. So those aren't things that we're just like looking forward to. Those are happening right now. We're already using it for things like Parkinson's. And so in addition to looking at what we're already doing, they're looking at like the next steps and where we're going to continue to innovate. So it's an exciting article.
Wow. Oh, thank you for sharing that. That was really rad.
Yeah. Well, hopeful after the sad political thing. we need both.
That. We needed that about the state of the world. We really covered the gamut with our article reviews today.
We do, and we did today. And it is true, we got to hold both. It's the whole object thinking. We always try to, hold multitudes, as you always say. I sometimes catch myself saying that, or like, we contain multitudes. Sometimes I do. I'm like, oh, hi, Dr. Ray.
I say noodle much more than I never said it before, and now I'm like noodling over things all day. So it's so many ways.
Keep noodling.
We rub off on each other. Good thing.
Yeah, I love it. Okay. Also, talking of social conditioning, that's how we know we're in a social constructionism. It's social constructionist world. Okay, so we can move into awards now. Potential. I'm excited.
I love it.
I will say ready. My shows include quite a few things, and one is Bachelor in Paradise. I might tweak that to be more about the reunion as I go through some of those, because since then I watched the reunion, which Dr. Ray hasn't seen yet, so I won't get any spoilers if you have not seen it yet either. Fine, listeners, you. And then if you haven't seen it and want to see it, just so you know, it's on YouTube. So you just look up Bachelor in Paradise reunion. The other thing is it's also on their Bachelor Happy Hour podcast if you just want to hear it. I don't recommend that because you can't tell who's talking, but it exists. So in addition to Bachelor in Paradise reunion / the finale, I'm also going to talk about Are You My First, which is a show about virgins, and it's fantastic. And then I'm also going to talk a little bit about Perfect Match, just because that was included over the past summer, which we're including, as well as Big Brother, The Challenge, and then Love Island, a little pocket of Love Island here and there. Actually, I think just once. So that's a full spectrum type of shows there. What are you going to be sharing about today?
I've got two. I'm doing Bachelor in Paradise, Love Island. So a smaller segment of the reality TV universe.
I love it. That's great. And that's great that we'll have some things that probably everyone has seen, and then some things that maybe will tempt you to watch some challenge shows, I suppose, since those are out of the norm for us. Okay, so in our awards shows, as you may or may not know if you're a new listener, we do 8 different awards. We give them to any reality TV that we're watching, and each of the awards have the word test in them because we are a reality test after all. So you'll hear some funny emphases as we say the names of them. So for this first award, it is Protest This Mess, where we talk about the meanest, saddest, drunkest, or most obnoxious, etc. moment or castmate. So what mess are you protesting Dr. Ray?
This, I would say, is more saddest, because I don't actually think that Sean from Bachelor in Paradise is mean. I think what his action was it made me feel sad when he exposed Kat when he was feeling hurt. It really, I know it created drama, which was a good thing, but it was just so petty and weird and not important. And of course she was talking to her ex before the show. Who cares? Can we acknowledge, as Chad was saying last week, that everyone is doing this for clout and followers, and to act like that's not true and to expose that is wild. It's look at your own house before throwing stones. And it's Kat gets enough hate, and she is allowed to change her mind if she and Dale really do last. Do I think they're going to last? No. But that's not my actual problem or concern, really. No. I just thought it was really unnecessary and unkind, and I didn't like it. Didn't like it at all.
Yeah, I agree. That was unnecessary and unkind. And I think it went a little far into personal spaces. I will say too about the Kat and Dale thing, they're still together, as we know from the show, and the reunion, they're still together. I agree about not knowing how far it will go. Part of what I was thinking about with Dale is his past with Claire. He really got a lot of heat for not sticking it out with Claire. I think all of her fans gave him a lot of heat for that. So I think he probably is going to be motivated to try to at least while it's still socially acceptable, try to be socially acceptable in how long he's with Kat, so who knows? I agree. It might be for show at this point. I don't know. I appreciate that mess that you're protesting. I am also talking about BIP for this one. And I will say that it is a little bit more complicated now that I've seen the reunion, but that my mess that I was protesting was Kat being saved over Bailey for that vote. And it's not more complicated in that way, because I still feel very strongly about that. And I think it really ultimately came down to 3 white women versus 2 women of color.
Wow.
Because it was Kat, Jess, and whatever, Nancy, I guess. Karen? Nancy. Karen? And that would be Kathy. Against Bailey and Alex. And so that made me really sad. And I didn't like that the way that came down to it. And then I also, on the flip, on Perfect Match, I really didn't love Lucy and Daniel winning this season, or really even how they set that up this year, because I really like Sandy from Ultimatum. I didn't mind her with Louis. I liked that biracial couple, and they were just fine. They're great. I thought they were great. And they didn't even get a chance to go for it because of how they did the ending. And I didn't like that. I didn't like how that worked out. I did not like Lucy and Daniel winning, because I think Daniel was trouble in the way he was treating Lucy. He was clearly really threatened by how lovable she is. And he was he gave her and told her he was embarrassed by her, including one time because she was laughing too loud.
Nope.
It's she's too much of a go-getter queen, and fun and extroverted, and he's clearly pretty anxious, and so I think it just doesn't mesh well, and it feels like he wants to be with her so he can cage her and have her be his pretty bird, and I don't like it. So they should not have won.
Oh, I really don't like that dynamic at all.
Yes, thank you. I agree. I protest as well.
We protest the messes.
We doth protest, because we don't like that. We don't like that messaging being continuated. Whatever.
In a similar but different award, who was doing the mostest for you this week? So this is the most cringe or embarrassing, or not for this week, for this summer. Who kind of made you go, ugh, I don't like it?
Yeah. There's 2 again for this. I have a hard time because there's so many shows but I've been liking. But one thing is, I really, from Big Brother, don't like. So she's great, but then especially came into her whole revisiting of all of those shows and fun, and I loved revisiting Love Island. That feels like ages ago now. So
oh my gosh,
nice way to wrap up Bachelor in Paradise too. Wrap.
Yes,
we want to do the reunion
on it and start
maybe
a new.
We want to do the reunion for next episode. Sorry, I just cut you right the fuck off. But I'm having this moment where I'm realizing maybe we want to do the reunion for our next episode, because we don't have anything per se yet for our next episode. And if people haven't seen it, that could be helpful to hear a recap of it. Sound off if you have feelings about it that you'd like to tell us about, because I know you all love to give us a comment, which is a joke if you don't. But please do tell us if you do or do not want the reunion. We will cover it potentially next episode. Might be fun to do a recap of it. And then otherwise, you can tell us if there's another show you might prefer, and we can keep thinking about that too. I know Traitors comes back in October, I want to say, or is that January? Something's in October and something's in January. Oh, you know what it is? Love is Blind 10 is in October. Traitors is in January.
Cannot wait. So excited.
Same. Good shows ahead. In the meantime, check us out on Patreon because you can find the full video episode. You right now are listening to the ending of the excerpt, I'm assuming, because you're watching it on YouTube, I'm assuming. And therefore, if you wanted to see the extended version, which is all of the rest of the audio that you could hear online for free or wherever you get your podcasts for free, see it in real time on video because you know what? Our facial expressions matter. So find that on patreon.com/realiTest, capital R, capital T. You can also put @ reality test, capital R, capital T, into the search bar at patreon.com. You can go to our Instagrams at Dr. K Pods and at Dr. Ray Pods. And you can go to our TikTok at doctor.realiTV, which is REALITV. You can go to our Facebook page and also our YouTube channel at Reality Test Pod. @ is the one for YouTube, and just 3 separate words is the Facebook page. Last but not least, you can email us at realitycheckpodding, PODDING, @gmail.com. Love to see you at any of those places. Please come hang out. It's only $5 a month for Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
Or free. Might be free for a year, so check it out because we're going to get promos.
Mm-hmm. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe. And again, if you do have the ability to financially support us, that really helps us to continue to do this thing we love.
And pay our sound guy.
Yeah, pay our sound guy. Whoever he is.
That guy. Yay. Oh, what a delight. Always a delight. And what a delight to speak to all of you. Hope you're taking care of yourselves in this active political climate and fear. We're thinking of you. Sending love. Sending love to you, my dear. And we'll see you all next session.
Bye.
Bye.